For the first time in 3 years, man, the Detroit Lions are on the outside looking in for the NFL playoffs. And it's been like that for now the fourth consecutive week that they have been hanging on by a thread to that 8th seed, and they are struggling and trying their best to get into the playoffs. Now, they can control what they can control, which is beating the 4 teams that remain in front of them, but they're also going to need some help. Now, the reason that this is the third consecutive video about playoffs is couple reasons. One, the Detroit Lions have a 10-day off period. It's been kind of slow in the news cycle. And 2, it's really all I can think about. Now, again, I am a fan of the team. Nobody is looking past these teams as far as we can beat these teams and yada, yada, yada. That's not what this is about. This is about getting to the playoffs, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The playoffs, and then going 4-0 in the playoffs so that we can make a Super Bowl and win our first Super Bowl. So nobody's looking past the Rams, the Steelers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Chicago Bears. But we are in December football. This is what is consuming the news world conversation. So we have to talk about it. Now, we have talked extensively about the Lions, what they need to do. If they can only technically afford, quotation marks, meaning they won't be mathematically eliminated with one loss. So that's why people are saying they can afford to lose one, because even with that one loss, they will not be mathematically eliminated. It is very likely, without a complete collapse from the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers, both which play each other one more time, without a collapse from both of those teams, the Detroit Lions will probably not make the playoffs at 10-7. But that's why the playoffs is consuming my conversation. Dan Campbell gets in front of the media today, and he should bring us some news about Brian Branch. And, well, we know what's happening with him, but about the rest of the guy, Harpers and all that stuff, if Kirby Joseph could be back, things like that. Do the Detroit Lions have any type of moves planned to bring in some additional resources? But this is where my mind is at. My mind, back in 2022, when the Lions were 1-6, I was probably the only guy talking about playoffs. I was talking about playoffs, man, using this very machine, the NFL playoff machine from ESPN, and I was the only guy. I used to get mocked in the comment section, but I like to stay in the season as long as we can, because it's so short and it goes by in the blink of an eye. There are 8 months on and 4 months on and 8 months off. So I like to, no matter how bleak it's looking, I like to stay in the season. So we've talked about what happens. Basically, the Lions need to beat every team. They need to beat, and what's in front of them is the LA Rams, and they're probably going to be the Lions' toughest task of the season. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is, since the trade, they have faced each other 3 times, and Jared Goff is 2-1 in those games. And you could argue the most important games, the playoff game. The bad news is the one loss that Jared Goff has had against his former team has come in L.A. And that was year 1. And so Jared has beat Matthew at Ford Field, and he has lost to Matthew in SoFi Stadium. So, yeah, it is a real good chance that Matthew Stafford will be able to tie this thing up by the time this time next week hits. But what happens if the Lions were to lose that game? They are underdogs in that game. Spoiler alert, I am going to pick the Rams again. I am not a biased fan. So if you don't like that, you can watch somebody who is. I'm not a biased fan. Can our team beat any team? Yes, we can. The Carolina Panthers beat the LA Rams. The Detroit Lions are capable of beating the LA Rams, but it's just going to be a tall task because of what our secondary is looking like. The fact that we continue our pass rush. So there's a possibility, but I mean, I have to make a decision, right? Because that's what I do. I can't be biased. I'm going to take the Rams to win this game. So with that being said, again, I hope I'm wrong. I don't care if I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I got to be non-biased in this line of work. Anyway, I have to be. There are people who are not, but that's okay. High on the Kool-Aid. All right, so what happens if the Lions were to lose this game against the Rams? And this is a safe space. If you don't believe they're going to win, you don't have to believe that. It is totally up to you. Okay, so here's where we're at. In week 14, pretty much everything is played out. I mean, look, the Chargers can do us a solid. They really can. So, I mean, as quiet as it's kept, the Eagles could have like a slow collapse, man. They lost to the Bears. A loss by the Chargers, or to the Chargers, would slowly kind of slowly kind of help our team. Now, of course, this is one scenario. You could have a scenario. The media could have a scenario. I'm sure there are a multitude of scenarios that could play out. This is the one that I found. So as you can see, we've gone through week 14. There's one game left. So real talk, I got the Eagles winning this game because I don't know what's going on with Justin Herbert, but low key, as we used to say back in the day, the Chargers winning this game will do the Detroit Lions a solid, because at that point, because I believe that the Eagles are 8-4, so they would be 8-5, and then they would only have the tiebreaker by head-to-head over the Detroit Lions, if I remember correctly about their record. All right, so there is week 14 that's about to be in the books in about 10 hours or so. All right, so let's go to week 15. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are kind of a wild card. The Detroit Lions would have the tiebreaker over them anyway, so it's highly unlikely that without winning the division that neither the Panthers nor the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be in the playoffs. So I just went through and I picked how things are going to go. You can see here we got some things, some absolutely trash teams. The Minnesota Vikings, I think, are not going to make the playoffs, but right now they are not mathematically eliminated. But let's just focus on the games that really, truly matter. I've got the Denver Broncos at the crib beating the Green Bay Packers. Their defense is suffocating, and I think that they're going to get this victory at the Mile High Stadium. I think that's what it's still called. It could be Empowered Field or something like that. I'm still calling it Mile High. All right, so you can see here that the Chicago Bears, I have them winning over the Cleveland Browns. They're at the crib. If they were at the dog pound, it might be a little different. Yesterday, Shedeur Sanders did his thing, put up 29 points, was pulled out at the end of the game. Kevin Stefanski's getting fired, so he'll join Brian Dable, a former coach of the year, both awarded the coach of the year over Dan Campbell, and both of them will be out of a job come this offseason. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. All right. So I have the Bears winning this game. You can also see I picked the Rams to win this game, and that is how I think it's going to go. An upset here would be colossal. So this is how can they make it if they lose to the Rams, and it's my prediction. We would need, of course, the Green Bay Packers to win this game. I mean, a Washington Commander upset would be fantastic. The Rams, it's almost impossible for them to collapse. But right now, the Lions could have a better record than the Rams. If they beat the Rams and then the Rams collapse down the stretch, all of these different scenarios could play out. But a loss to the Rams, basically, the Detroit Lions would need to win their last three, okay? And we would need a little bit of help. So we got the Green Bay Packers beating the Chicago Bears, and, of course, we beat the Steelers, which I think that can happen. We'll be at the crib. I want to know how many times we're going to sack Aaron Rodgers this particular. We better get to him at least 3 times. The dude is like 47 and slow as ever. Now, let's fast forward to week 17. We got to get our get back in Minnesota, and then we're going to have, I believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Chicago Bears. They're also at home. Notice I didn't use the word crib. I had already used it 3 times. You're welcome, by the way. So if we do this and then we go to week 18, here is the matchup. And we talked about this in the Ben Johnson narrative video that we made 2 videos ago. But things changed just a little bit because that was something a little different. This is, well, what if they lose to the Rams? Okay. So if they lose, check this out. If we go back to week 15 and we leave everything as it is, the Detroit Lions are the 7th seed. If we lose to the Rams, which I have us losing to the Rams, we need to win the last 3, and we need the Chicago Bears to drop at least. They'll win 1, drop 1. They will drop 2. The Bears are, the way that I have them going, they only win their next game against the Browns. They lose to the San Francisco 49ers they lose to the Green Bay Packers in week 16. They lose to the San Francisco 49ers in week 17. And then they lose to us in week 18, which sends us to the playoffs. If we lose, check this out. We need that to happen, because if the Bears win one more game and we lose one more game, let's see what happens. What if we make the Bears win one of these games? All right, we would still be in. And the Bears would still be out. So this is having the Bears go 2-2 down the stretch, they lose. That's how important this last game is going to be. Okay, now let's have the Bears beat. Let's say that the Bears, we already know that the Lions have to go 3-1 over their last 4. Let's say the Bears, they beat the Cleveland Browns. They lose to the Green Bay Packers. They beat the San Francisco 49ers, okay? And we skip to week 18. We give the victory. Let me make sure you guys can all see it. We give the victory. This is if we win. The Bears go 2-2, losing to us as one of those games. And then they beat us, they move in, and not only that, they have the higher seed. So let's go back. Let me see let's change this. Let's say that the Bears win this game, but then they lose to the 49ers, and then we beat the LA Rams. We would still be in there. So if the Bears go 2-2, there's no doubt that the Lions, without a colossal failure down the stretch, the Lions are going to have to go 3-1. If the Lions lose their last game, lose against the Rams, okay, they got to win the last 3. They got to beat the Steelers, they got to beat the Vikings, and they got to beat the Chicago Bears. The Bears, if they go 2-2 while losing to us, that is going to, so the Bears could go 2-2. I have them going 1-3. They have a 10% higher chance right now at 64% or 63 to the Lions 54, according to NFL.com. But, a Cleveland Brown win this Sunday would help us out tremendously. It would help us out tremendously because you also have, if that happens, okay, so let me do something that I'm just now thinking of. What if we go and we have the Bears? Let's have the Bears, just for the sake of this conversation, they lose to the Browns. They lose to us. And then they lose to the 49ers. And let's just say they beat the Packers. Could we afford to lose 2 games if that happens? So we go to week 14, that's out the way. And let's say that we lose to the Rams, okay? Right now, we lost 1. So the Bears would lose 2 games and win 2 games, and we would lose to the Bears, just for the sake of this conversation. Nobody got us winning that game. All right, so is there a way that the Bears could beat us in week 18 and we still go? All right, so we go to 16. We got the Lions winning. We got the Lions winning that game, and the Bears, if they win that game, then they put us out. They put us out. So it looks like that no matter what, without a colossal, okay, just one more thing. Bears fans, I know you're going to hate me. I'm sorry. This is what I got to do. All right, so let's say that the Bears lose to the Browns, the Bears lose to the Green Bay Packers, and the Bears lose to the San Francisco 49ers. And then they play us in we win this game. And do I have us still losing to the Rams? I do. So we still have so they beat us in week 18. So we lose to the Rams. We win the next 2. The Bears drop the next 3. It comes down to the last game. Bears win that game. They're the 7th seed. Lions win that game. They're the 7th seed. Oh, boy. So with a Cleveland Brown win on this coming Sunday, which a game we will be doing on this channel. It is before we'll do the post-game tailgate we're going to do the post-game tailgate at 11. We'll do the Bears-Browns watch party, okay? And then we'll await the Lions-Rams game. So if the Bears lose that game against the Browns, which is, it's not highly unlikely, but the Bears are probably there at home. And but the defense for the Cleveland Browns is crazy. If the Bears win that game, the Lions would they win over the Rams would be in the playoffs, and the Bears would, I believe, be out. But if the Chicago Bears, if both of Chicago, they lose to, okay, let's have them beating the Packers, and wow. So it's a lot of different scenarios, but again, if the Lions lose to the LA Rams without a colossal letdown, colossal from the Bears or Packers, the Lions would not be in the playoffs. Like they have to win 3 in a row. They have to win 3 in a row. Let's just have a little bit of fun. Let's have a little bit of fun because these are things that I'm thinking of. Let's say, okay, that's over with. So let's say this is what I think is going to happen. We go here. Let's now say the Green Bay Packers. What if they just flame out? They flame out. They get they get beat by all these teams, and then the Vikings pull off some type of stunner in week. If they drop the next 4, that allows Dallas to creep up in the playoffs. Wow. So that's probably the likelihood of that happening. So that's what Dallas would probably need to get in. So anyway, there is your playoff situation. If the Lions lose against the Rams, they essentially have to win the next 3 games. But there is a way that the Lions could go 2-2 down the stretch and make it into the playoffs. The Lions lose against but you know what, man? I just don't see it. I think the Rams are probably the only game that the Lions are not going to be favored in down the stretch. So it's quite, to be crazy. I had the Lions as 12-5. I had their ceiling as 13-4 and their floor as 11-6, which would be 10-7. Again, is not going to get you into the playoffs unless the Bears, Niners, Packers just collapse. But we still have time for a collapse from any team, to be real with you. So those are my thoughts, man. I love this. You might be like, Derek, why is this your third? I love this. I love talking about outcomes and numbers and, this. I love when this machine comes out. I love this. That's why I said it truly for me. I know it's December, but it's the most wonderful time of the year for me because it is. I love this stuff, man. Anyway, this channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You can be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.